Good day. Lecture number 15. En route for happiness. For singles or groups, life is always punctuated with stages. Each step marks a beginning, a prolongation with various and numerous stages, and finally a quick end. On cosmic plan, there was the Big Bang, which marked out the end of a long period of cosmic turbulence and announced a new stage, a new beginning. That was an end, and that was a beginning. That beginning lasted billions of years of galactic recycling. At the end of it appeared our galaxy, the Milky Way. That was an end, and that was a beginning. For hundreds of millions of years, the kneading of the Earth's surface prepared life on Earth. That was an end, and that was a beginning. During the first millions of years of vegetable life, the newcomer, unable to breathe and to feed, lived a fleeting mineral life. So, hardly born, hardly disappeared. While its evolution continued, it learned to breathe, to feed, and to procreate. Then it passed from mineral to minotaur, which is a mineral in a way to become vegetable. Finally, it got its complete vegetable identity. That was an end, and that was a beginning. At next stage, and for a long time, he lived mostly as vegetable. During that stage, it has been granted for an intuition and an instinct. So he passed from vegetable to animal. After passing from fish to amphibian, finally he reached the terrestrial animal species. That was an end, and that was a beginning. One day, a climatic event occurred which chased out our ancestor from the protective site of Primate. The survival needs forced him to a long and difficult apprenticeship, during which he acquired new skills to think and to decide. This acquisition allowed him to become a Priman, which is to say, a primate and a human. That was an end, and that was a beginning. Nevertheless, now a Priman, he kept the influences of the animal instinct and added a new power, a reason. In this second millennium, in spite of the new acquired skills, the Priman always lived his long and laborious human apprenticeship. His advancement shows a life ratio of 90-10, which is 90% as primate and 10% as human. During this long apprenticeship to become a human, numerous pitfalls run along his pathway. One of these pitfalls is most prejudicial. He got to a sincere conviction that the conquest of intellectual skills to observe, to think, to compare, to deduct, to formulate opinion, and to decide chosen action procure him a perfect human maturity. Fatal illusion. The intellectual skills are tools, means to get to maturity. An intelligent man is not spontaneously a mature man. Each day, life reminds us of that. This illusion encourages men to look for the intellect powers and is rather a detriment to maturity. Consequences. This false interpretation slow down and weighs out the constant effort toward freedom and happiness. How to explain the eating of unhealthy food, drugs, violence, competition, sex fuzziness. The answer seems to be risky, but in fact is closer than we think of. Socrates recalls it up. Know you, yourself, and you'll know God and the universe. All living being, vegetable, animal, and human, must respond to 7 vital processes to survive: breathing, feeding, digesting, sharing of energy, eliminating, protecting, and procreating. 4 out of these 7 processes, breathing, digesting, sharing of energy, and eliminating, are always under the nature's powers, and nature could not abuse of herself. The 3 other processes, eating, protecting, and procreating, depend on man's freedom, and by the powers of his intellectual skills could at any time abuse of his powers. Let's see it through each vital need. Eating. Human reason says men must eat to live, but man says, I prefer live to eat. From there on come the abuses, such as the uses of unhealthy food, drugs, addiction to smoking, alcoholism. Protecting. As primate, the animal possessive and domineering characters are always within man. Daily life shows us this reality in conflicts, wars, the frenetic searches for wealth, and a sometimes disloyal competition for honors. All that in order to rejoice fully the possessive and domineering animal instinct characters. Procreating. Animal has an instinct, nature substitute. The instinct is a tool, a means, as an incentive, an impulsion, a stimulus, a pleasure, which drives the animal response to his vital needs. Without it, the animal could not survive. Man has learned that procreating need hide a pleasure, although that pleasure is for nature exclusively a tool, a means, and never a goal. Man will live for pleasure by his intellectual powers and his free choice transformed that means into a goal. Then in search to have it likeness to nature, in spite of being absent in nature, man made it a new way of life and renamed it sexuality. Ways of life. A general habit of life constituted a way of life. In archaeological discoveries, searchers often found men and women statuettes. Men's statuettes show prominent belly, while women's statuettes show prominent belly, buttock, and breast. Without doubt, being well fed was a way of life in the past. History shows that man has really inherited of possessive and domineering animal characters through conflicts, wars, competition. To man, to possess and to dominate was always a way of life. In nowadays, the false need of procreating is a present way of life, and it is now instituted as a religion. Conclusion: man is a primate and a human. As primate, he always possesses an animal instinct, and as human, a human reason. Also, as a Priman, he is a primate and a human apprentice. In this second millennium, the primate continues his apprenticeship of human. Until now, he has reached a close 10% of maturity. He must conquer the remaining 90% before being recognized as a full and mature human. His instinct is prejudicial, that has been identified by the philosopher Hippolyte Taine as these obscure powers that acted within us. All religion, all philosophy agree to say that man's destiny is happiness. Albert Camus would righteously say, there is no shame to choose happiness. Animal has no reason, and human no instinct. Nevertheless, by the strength of his intellectual powers, the Priman too often trades his reason for his instinct. This trading action constitutes a slavery obstacle against happiness. Could one be free and slave at the same time? In his social contract, Jean-Jacques Rousseau did recognize it. Man is born free, and everywhere he is in iron. Let's listen to Jean-Paul Sartre saying, being free is looking for what we could. The contemporary man would say, being free is to have powers to get what we want. Men look for happiness. To get it, he must live in harmony with his reason. He will find that harmony by adaptation to life. This adaptation could be possible, but when he will have acquired a total freedom. Man has a free will. He himself must decide. Yesterday, the analphabetic and extrovert man aimed for holiness by obedience to authorities. Nowadays, the learned and introvert man struggles with freedom to acquired maturity, the unique route to happiness. Thank you. Amen.